Welcome back to the crossover. I'm your host, Rohan Nadkarni, joined today by two of the most stylish writers in the business, Ben Pickman and Michael Pina. Guys, the NBA playoffs are in full swing. We're getting through the first round here. Obviously, a lot of players have been raising their stock during the playoffs, but some of them have actually dropped theirs a little bit. Michael, I want to hear from you first. Who's been your most disappointing player during the playoffs so far?
So Bam Adebayo might not even be the most disappointing player on his own team. Apologies to Jimmy Butler, but his struggles have really stood out to me. It's not just that he's shooting below 40% from the floor or only scored 9 points in 40 plus minutes in game one, which Miami only lost by a basket. But Adebayo has also been so tentative against Milwaukee's soft coverages. He's passing up wide open 10 footers when Brook Lopez drops into the paint, shots that he spent the whole year taking comfortably. Now, there are possessions where he catches it at the elbow and doesn't even look at the rim, and his teammates are literally waving at him to attack. I'm a huge fan of Bam, and I think that his individual defense in this series so far has been pretty good. But the Heat have the worst offense in the entire first round by a significant margin. And if they want to climb back into this series, he needs to be a lot more aggressive with the ball.
It's a good choice, and I'm going to go to another Eastern Conference forward and go with Julius Randle, who I think has maybe not been disappointing, but underwhelming at least to open this postseason. You're right. You look at Julius Randle in his regular season, 24 and 10, 46% from the field, 41% from three. He was well deserving of that Most Improved Player of the Year honor, but he's kind of been uncomfortable and a little inconsistent in both of the New York's first two playoff games. Right, he is 15 and 12 in both games, and he shot just 26% in game one. 31% in game two, and really hasn't found a rhythm, right? And so New York very well could have been up 2-0 in this series. They go back to Atlanta down 1-1, but Julius Randle is really going to need to get stuff going if New York wants to advance out of the first round. You look at it, right? The Hawks are mostly playing him with DeAndre Hunter and John Collins, but if you watch a lot of these sets where Randle is uncomfortable, the Hawks are shading Clint Capella often over. He's lurking and he's playing a lot of help side defense on Julius Randle when Randle tries to go to the basket or depending on where Randle spins. And so the length of Capella seems to also really be bugging Julius Randle, or at least the presence of Clint Capella, right? You look at Randle, he had his way against the Hawks during the regular season, but he hasn't found his rhythm just yet in the postseason. Again, well deserving of his regular season honors, but if the Knicks want to get out of the first round, and judging by their fan reaction the first two games, both in and out of the arena, fans really want them to get out of the first round. Randle's going to need to go up another level because there's just too much Derrick Rose, too much Taz Gibson, and Alec Burks right now for Knicks fans. I think they're liking.
I think to everyone's liking, there's maybe a little bit too much of those guys. You guys both named players who I think, without a doubt, need to raise their performance moving forward in their series. I'm going to cheat on this answer. Once again, it's my video. I can do what I want. I'm going with the entire Clippers roster as my most disappointing so far in the playoffs. Okay, you can't put up billboards around LA, say earned, not given, all this stuff, your aggressive marketing campaign for 2 years now, and then put up a stinker like this in the first round. Losing back-to-back games on your home floor. Where's the championship experience in the locker room? Guys like Rajon Rondo, Serge Ibaka, Kawhi Leonard. Paul George gets a lot of flack for his playoff performances, probably rightfully so. It's not like he's a young guy either. This is someone who was going toe to toe with LeBron in the middle of the last decade in the playoffs. I think it's been a massive disappointment. They made a lot of changes last year, bringing in guys like I mentioned, Rondo, Ibaka, changing their head coach, bringing in Ty Lue, seemingly to help them in moments like this, moments of adversity. And I think for the Clippers, it's one thing the Mavs got hot. They played incredibly well in game one. Luka's obviously an outstanding player. I understand losing that game. It happens. But to not put up the response at home in game two, not come out of the gates with a renewed focus and energy, something just seems off with that team. It's been a massive disappointment. Michael's alluded to this elsewhere, but if they lose this series, this could be it for the Kawhi PG experiment. Why would they bring back this duo or this roster as presently constructed if they were to have another disappointing playoff defeat? Now, having said all of that, Michael, I do want to hop back to you. The Bucks and Heat do play again Thursday night. The Heat are down 2-0. They're going back home. You mentioned Bam, not the only player on the Heat struggling. Jimmy Butler also having the opposite effort that he had during the playoffs last year. Do you think Miami can do anything to turn it around? I think Milwaukee was clearly the better team during the regular season. Is there anything the Heat can do to turn that series around?
It's going to be really difficult, but I mean, it starts with Jimmy. It starts with Bam. I think those two need to be more aggressive offensively. Obviously, they need to hit shots. They need to take advantage of the drop coverages that Milwaukee's playing. But defensively, Milwaukee's just done such a fantastic job attacking Duncan Robinson and some of the other weak links, Goran Dragic, et cetera, with Drew and with Giannis and with Chris Middleton. So I don't know how they solve that necessarily. They might go a little bit more to zone as the series progresses, and maybe that'll help. But Milwaukee has just so much shooting. It has star power. It has ball handlers and playmakers, and it's a different team than the one that Miami defeated in the bubble. So I don't think that I would not bet that Miami will come back from this. But if they do, it'll be because Bam really stepped it up. It'll be because Jimmy looked like he did in the finals last year.
Yeah, as disappointing, I think, as the Heat have looked, Milwaukee's been the opposite. And, unlike the Clippers, have responded, I think, to last year's disappointing playoff exit. For more, check us out on SI.com.